With the expansion of the number of bowl games played each and every year, with the playoff, with the opt-outs, there is a negative attitude among some fan bases and population of the college football fan base that have a negative outlook on bowl games. So how is the Tennessee fan base taking this assignment against Purdue in the Music City Bowl?
It's on a baseline, excited to be back in a bowl game. I think that's a given. Would we have liked a different game rather than just going to Nashville? Yeah, I think so. Because it just is a game that Tennessee has played in a million times at this point. You go back, played in the Music City Bowl in 2016. You played the Music City Bowl in 2012. Obviously, it's Nashville and it's in Titan Stadium. You played in Titan Stadium against Bowling Green in 2015. I mean, it's just a place where you've played a lot of football. If you're the Tennessee football program.
When you think bowl trips, you think you're actually taking a trip to another location, and it's new and it's exciting, and yes, it's an experience.
A lot of Tennessee fans are going to take a 15-minute drive to that bowl game, And so, as great as that is, I think it's going to be a sellout. You actually it was kind of funny in this last week. You had Purdue fans complaining because Tennessee fans were purposefully buying up their allotment of tickets. I mean, that's just the way Tennessee rolls. If you give us the chance to go to a bowl game in the state of Tennessee, that's what it is. So it's going to be fun, and it's going to be a sellout for Tennessee fans, and it's going to be a great weekend hanging out in Nashville. But I just think you had some options floating out there, like the Gator Bowl against Wisconsin, the Outback Bowl against Penn State, and you just look at those and you go, man, that would have been way more exciting. Man, that would have been great. Because also Purdue, their two best players are sitting out, the wide receiver, Bell,
yeah,
and another defensive guy who's one of their best guys sitting out.
It must be George Karlaftis, their defensive end. He's going to be like a first-round NFL draft pick. Yeah, those two guys are phenomenal. Yeah,
and they're both taking the bowl game off. So you look at that matchup, Tennessee's probably going to be 3 to 9.5 point favorite, somewhere in there, depending on how Vegas is feeling, I got to imagine. And so all of that considered, it's great to be back in a bowl game. I cannot complain about a 7-win season. This season has gone better than I thought that it would. I actually do think in preseason I predicted a 7-win season, but I predicted a 7-win season that included a win over Pittsburgh and more losses in the SEC. And I will say, after having experienced it, I certainly prefer more wins in the SEC, especially a great win against a really solid Kentucky team that kind of solidified a really nice season for Josh Heupel this year. And so, all things considered, so happy to be back. Always nice to be back in a bowl game, especially when you're in the position that Tennessee is in. But I'd rather be playing in the Outback Bowl, sure. I'm not going to lie to you about that.
Tennessee opened as a 2.5 point underdog, and that has gone all the way over to now as a 4-point favorite, probably due to those two opt-outs.
Yeah, that makes sense. I guess I hadn't looked at the early line on it because I mean Purdue, they 8-4.
Purdue's pretty good football team.
Yeah,
8-4, beat Michigan State, beat Iowa.
But Tennessee historically in bowl games has absolutely handed it the Big Ten teams. I believe in the last 4, they are 4-0, and 2 of those were total blowouts against Northwestern and Nebraska. Or Northwestern and Iowa, somewhat close against Nebraska, and then you had one of the wildest comebacks I've ever watched the Tennessee team have against Indiana, where you recovered an onside kick and ended up winning at the last second. But so the history against Big Ten teams in bowl games is good for Tennessee. So history is on our side. That doesn't mean a whole lot about this season, but I think. To me, 4 points is about right. What did I say? It's between 3 and 9.5. I would expect, and I don't. Tennessee probably can't get up that high. Although, I would analyze that bowl game this way: if Purdue lets it get out of hand, it's gonna get out of hand. Because it has impressed me this season the way Tennessee can run up the score on teams because it snowballs so quickly. The way. If Tennessee scores like the way they did against Kentucky, who's one of the better teams in the SEC this year, 45 points, in that game on 13 and a half minutes of possession. I mean, it is just absolutely breakneck. And those points add up really quick if you don't respond with scores in kind to Tennessee. So I think 4 is about right. But if Tennessee gets going and it becomes clear they're going to run away with it, I think they might win by 20. And maybe we're being way too confident just because these players are sitting out and Tennessee's going to lose. I don't. That's bowl games are weird. Let's not forget about that. But doesn't everybody always kind of considers the motivations? I guess I feel like Tennessee's going to be motivated in this game. Not that Purdue won't be. I think Purdue probably always has an appreciation for bowl games, but
I don't think there's a gap in motivation, or at least conjecturing or projecting motivation. It's not like somebody slipped out of a college football playoff or those type of expectations and are landing in a Music City Bowl. I would think that both teams would be motivated.
I think they will be, and I'm interested to see how it goes. I think my desire is for it to just be a total blowout and be just this really fun thing. I'm gonna be you've already said it here. I do a game day show with former Tennessee quarterback Jonathan Crompton. We do a show at halftime and post game, and we might actually be doing something different for this game for anybody who watches our show and might be listening to this. Ideally, announcement hopefully coming soon on that. But for my own sanity, it's tough to kind of do that show per se if Tennessee loses. It's tough to get your mind right if it's like a really close game that kind of frays your nerves. So I would like to just have a nice, what is it, December 30th, I think that game is, day before New Year's Day. We just have a nice, easy, relaxing time sticking it to Purdue. That would be great. But it's probably going to be close. Hopefully a double-digit win for Tennessee, best case scenario. But looking at it realistically, I'll give it to Tennessee in a close one.